Put it
All
on the background, give
right.
us the news.
And we're live. And so hey, what's up YouTube? What's up Discord? We're doing a little event here, a little call-in show, where we talk to people about what they wish others believed also. And well, we're gonna have a nice show here. And hopefully people will start rolling into the event stage here. And yeah. David, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm dandy like candy. How about yourself?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. I've been excited for this. I've been looking forward to it all week.
Great. Yeah.
All right.
We're getting all
So,
situated here on the Discord, which is where we're getting all our callers from.
we got somebody helping us out in the chat. So if you guys want to raise your hand, and then in the chat, if you could put what you want to talk about, what you wished others believed also, and then we'll let you hop up on stage and we can have a little chat.
Yeah.
All right. We don't have any takers yet, apparently. I'm a little surprised by that.
We're getting rolling. So, why don't you tell me about your experience on the last call-in show? How did you how would you rate trying to do street epistemology to a crowd?
I think it went pretty well. I was trying out something a little bit different with select number of the callers, and that's called a nonviolent communication. I'm trying to integrate that into street epistemology, and I think it turned out pretty good. How about you? What are your thoughts, David?
I really enjoyed it. I like the way that it's kind of low key. Everybody is just we're talking about things instead of like trying to show each other up or whatnot. And that was some really interesting conversations and topics from last week. And speaking of which, last week we spoke with Nicholas, who's looking to come back up here and share some more. He got us there right at the end of a 2.5 hour stream, and so coming in fresh today.
I'm ready to be street epistemologized.
I like it. Using it as a verb.
We lost him though. Where'd he go?
Uh-oh.
Nicholas, go ahead and okay, perfect. I'm gonna bring you right back up. I'm not sure what happened there.
Whoops. I don't know. I didn't click it off, but maybe I don't know. Things happen. How are you guys?
It happens. Right. Doing great. How are you, Nick?
Yeah.
I'm good. It's good to talk with you guys. Like you guys have such a relaxed vibe. You know, you guys are so chill. Like it actually leads to really great conversations. And hello, Snow. I haven't talked to you before, but
hello.
It's cool to have 3 people. It'll be fun.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so I put the claim in the chat. It could be a little bit different from last time. I don't remember what I exactly put last time. But if there's one belief that I want other people to believe more, like there's probably like more foundational beliefs that could like do a lot of other stuff. But the one thing is just that I think slaughterhouses are really messed up places. The world would be better off without them. And it's something, it feels like a blind spot for most people. Like it's not something that gets talked about enough as far as ethical issues go, even though it is talked about so much in some areas. In some areas, it's like never not talked about at all. Like it's not on like 80% of people's radars at all. And for like 1 or 2% or maybe 5% of the population, it's like that's the only ethical issue on their radar. Yeah. So it's like it's something that I think would be very like cool if other people had it on their radar as well.
Why do you think it's not something that's at the forethought of a lot of these conversations?
Because I think there's a level of like veganism that it's like tied to, and veganism has a little bit of a bad rep. People think meat is tasty. They think it's convenient. They like their burgers. They get the ads for it all the time. There's like been thousands of years of like history, just like of like the culture that we've had. So a lot of the people's cultures around it are have a lot of dishes that have meat products in it, and it's hard for people to go against their culture. And those are the reasons. So it feels like you have to go against your culture a little bit. You got to go against your like like immediate sensual pleasures a little bit, you know. If you see like a hamburger that's convenient, it's right there. You just saw an ad for it when you were watching the game, you know, and now you got to be like, hey, no, like bad boy, not that one. Like just wait for the next one, you know. Like go farther and get the other thing that wasn't advertised, you know. So I think those are the couple reasons people think it's a little bit harder. That's my opinion on it, you know. I don't think it's because people are bad. I think most people, they hate things that are seen in the slaughterhouse, you know, like if they watch footages of it, they're like, that's super fucked up, excuse my language. Like I'll try to speak a little cleaner, my bad on the language. They'll think that's like really unpleasant to see things like that, and then they'll but there isn't as much consideration given. And so those are the reasons I think. But I don't know. Why do you guys think that it's not as considered?
Good question. I think you might be onto something. I think I agree with you for the most part. I think
Mhm.
I think there's probably a degree of ignorance upon slaughterhouses. I don't think a lot of people are fully aware of everything that occurs, perhaps. Um,
Mhm.
I think on the flip side, there might be some people who will view the practices that occur in a slaughterhouse, and I think they might think that it is actually okay. I think there might be a significant amount of the population that may think that. I think that's a possibility.
Oh, for sure, that's definitely out there. But again, like it goes against a lot of people's like ethical frameworks. Like people justify it. I think the main reason people justify it is because they're involved with it. It's hard to like, for a lot of people, it's hard to say like, hey, I'm like doing something that I shouldn't be doing. You know, I think if they're a little bit more distant from it, if it was something they weren't engaging in themselves, it's a little bit easier to like have like a, hey, is that positive or negative? You know, it's easier for us to like, um, I don't know, let's say like if you're not a golfer, it's easier for you to evaluate whether golf is like ethical or not ethical behavior than if you're like a golfer yourself and you like love it.
Mm.
You know, like it's like your favorite thing, and then it's like it's kind of, it becomes a little bit harder to have that assessment.
Earlier
But I
you
agree with you.
mentioned. No, go
Yeah,
ahead.
like there are people that for sure like that they think everything that happens in there is okay. I mean, there's definitely people that think animals only have instrumental value. They don't have inherent value. There are people that like they're essentially view them as resources, like they view a gold mine, or like a quarry for like getting stone or whatever. They just view animals as like purely a resource. They don't think they have any inherent rights whatsoever. Um, they've totally turned them into objects. There are people that even think like animal abuse is okay. Like it could be even positive. Like they get like pleasure out of animals being harmed. You know, I mean, people there's definitely some, you know, and some people that just get off on like, you know, like just hurting animals. You know,
Mm.
so yeah, those
Maybe
things
we could
exist too.
maybe we could shift gears and talk about the methods and reasons that you've come to the conclusion that you have come to, which I think that was slaughterhouses should be eliminated, like not be a thing anymore. Is that kind of what I was hearing?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, cool. And this will probably kind of overlap a little bit with what we talked about last time, but
yeah.
just for everybody who's watching now instead of last time, how did you arrive at this conclusion?
Yeah, so it's gonna be a little repetitive from the last time
Hmm.
because my reasons for it is the same, hasn't changed,
Right.
and same with my experiences that led to it. For me, I thought I could. I initially became vegetarian when I was a teenager. It was around when I think when I was 15, 16. My friend told me to look into he became vegetarian for religious reasons. He was Sikh, and I asked him like, "Hey, why are you doing that?" And he just said like, "Hey, look into it." And he was one of my best friends. I looked into it, and I thought I could justify animal consumption if humans benefited from it. If it was like human versus animals, I thought I could justify it, and that was like the my thought process. And then I learned about what's called the trophic level effect, which is that every single time you move up the food chain, there's a significant energy loss. Um, and essentially, like right now, just to This is a statistic I learned later, but right now we're giving 40% of our worldwide plant edible yield from plant agriculture. We're giving 40% of it to farm animals, and farm animals produce only about 18% of the calories of the worldwide food production. So it's about 20% of the worldwide agriculture yield is just like wasted. So it's one of the most significant parts of food waste in the world, if not the most significant part of food waste, is because we feed edible plant foods to animals, and then we eat those animals. We eat their calories that's been filtered through them. And so when I learned about this fact, and like I previously learned about the trophic level effect in middle school science class. So like I thought it was a well-established principle. I just never applied it to this ethical issue. And I never even considered the ethical issue at all. And that's when I became vegetarian, was when I was thinking about it and I realized like it's not an animal versus humans. It's humans and animals versus my own like desire to eat Philly cheesesteaks. And I was outside of a Philly cheesesteak shop, when I was like thinking of that like choice. I was like just sitting there, like processing this after school. And so that's why I became vegetarian, and I became vegan about a decade later, when I learned about what happens to baby chicks that are male in the egg industry. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. If you guys are familiar with it, I won't like explain it. If you guys aren't, like, maybe it'll make sense for me to explain what happens. But it was mainly
They're
that.
terminated early on.
Yeah, they kill them when they're 1 day old. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had 2 pet baby chicks when I was 4 or 5 years old. They're my first pets. And I think that experience may have been why I was open-minded to vegetarianism and veganism in the first place. And after I became vegan, like I hadn't really thought about those pet chicks, like for most of my life, since they like passed away when I was like, I don't know, 6 or something. But when I became vegan, about maybe like half a year into it, like I started seeing them in my dreams a little bit. Like they became a little bit more upfront in my mind.
So, Nick, I'm kind of hearing two different reasons, and I'm kind of combining this with when we talked
Yeah.
last week. But I'm hearing like the trophic energy and the loss of energy, kind of the inefficiency, as one
Yeah.
potential reason. And then I'm hearing another reason, and I think this reason might be like a desire to, keep animals safe and healthy and not treat them unethically. Is that kind of another reason?
Yeah, it's definitely for. I just think that nonviolence is a pretty, like I just personally dislike violence a lot, whether it's to animals or humans.
Okay. So kind of a
So
desire to have nonviolence towards all life forms, maybe not plants, but animals and humans.
to animals and humans, yeah, not
Okay,
necessarily
gotcha.
plants. Yeah,
Not
to
necessarily
sentient beings.
plants.
Yeah, to sentient
Sentient
beings.
beings.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Of these two reasons, which, if there was like a pie chart of your
Mhm.
reasons for belief, that slaughterhouses should be eliminated, which piece would be bigger? The desire to for nonviolence towards humans and animals, or would
Mm.
the trophic energy effect? Which would be the bigger piece of that pie?
They're both interrelated. And
Hmm.
the trophic one is it's its own thing. But the way I think about the trophic level effect is that humans aren't benefiting from this dynamic either. That's the way I look at it. So it's just that others, like we as a society, aren't benefiting from this, like all sentient beings. And there's this like Buddhist principle that if you harm others, you're harming yourself as well. So if someone's like causes like they're being abusive to someone else, they're also suffering themselves in some way in their mentality, because they have a warped view of what's right and wrong. They have and that's going to come back to them in some way. And I think that applies to animal consumption as well. It's the number one form of violence. It's the most normalized form of violence. I personally went to school I studied political science, and all I was reading about was violence, essentially. Like it was about this war happened here, that war happened here for this and that reason, and you essentially, I mean, there's just violence itself is not a pleasant thing. It's one of the things that we're trying to control, like as far as the human society goes. It's one of the things that we're trying to like limit as much as we can. Its effects of, including like other elements of violence too. Like not just like physical violence, but like psychological aggression and
Yeah.
things like that.
I
But yeah,
gotcha.
you initially mentioned that you wanted to have like more non-violent ways of communicating. So it seems like
Mhm.
that's like a goal you have as well on some level.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it sounds like what I heard was the trophic energy effect is kind of like a piece of that desire for nonviolence. It's a part of that other pie.
Yeah.
So it sounds like the main reason is this desire to, um, not harm other sentient beings. And then
Mhm.
I wrote down something. You said like there was this Buddhist concept: if you harm others, you harm yourself. Is this something that's really important to you? Do you really value that? Is that
No, I mean,
important to
like,
you, I guess?
it's just a way of thinking about it. It's not too deep
Okay.
of a belief. I'm not a Buddhist, but I just find it like a useful way of like thinking about it. It's just that our like when we start justifying, okay, it's okay for us to like like be violent to animals because we want to eat them, like that could like lead to like other justifications that could have like harmful effects later on. Like I think it weakens someone's moral code on some level. That's a good one to street epistemology me on. You know. If you guys want to go on that one,
Maybe
is
next week
that
on that one. A, a question I guess would I'd ask you is if you found out that there was a significant amount of damage to environments that would happen if we expanded and our crops and edible vegetables and everything like that. And so much so that we would lose a lot of the animals that were already growing and helping to raise. They would die off, and we would eat up more of our land for different things. Would that be a fair trade? In that? I mean, would that potentially? Would there be a number of that that'd be too much? So much that your camera would die?
Oh no! Hopefully your camera comes back. That's a great question. I value like ecological aspects too when it comes to animal welfare. Like one of the things is that animal agriculture is one of the number one factors, if not the number one factor of species extinction that's happening worldwide. It's the number one factor when it comes to deforestation. It's the number one factor when it comes to ocean dead zones, plastic in the water. It has a negative environmental effect in a lot of ways. When it comes to specifically if like plant agriculture increases due to like more people becoming vegans and slaughterhouses not existing, I don't think that would be the case because of the trophic level effect. That's one of the things about that trophic level effect idea is that there's definitely issues when it comes to plant agriculture. It's not perfect by any means. There's pesticide use. There's like the land that it's used on. There's harvest death that's involved in plant agriculture, and but all of these take into account. Following a vegan diet actually reduces the amount of plants that we would have to like farm, because right now we're given like 40% of the plant agriculture to feed the animals, the 80 billion animals that we're like slaughtering every year of land animals. Without that like needed, we would actually reduce our plant like agriculture like needs, and it would also have the effect of when it comes to world hunger. Uh, are you guys familiar with like ethanol and biodiesels?
Yes,
Okay, like
but
so when it
I feel
comes
like
to like, I know it's going
I'm a
off a
lot
little bit.
far away from the slaughterhouse.
Okay. My bad. I was going into. Sorry.
That's all right. That's all right. It's a big topic, and it's a lot of big things on it, and it's taught me a lot about how I have to really. I need to learn a little bit more about the framing of the situation so I can ask better questions on this. I thought I was just tired last time, but it turns out I just got to work out my brain. I'm just going to admit that.
Oh, that's awesome. Honestly, like if you guys want, like I can come back another time. Like I would love to like continue the conversation with you guys. Like
Yeah.
and honestly, like just the fact that like someone says that, I think that's awesome. Like there's so many things I don't know enough about. And like I reach that point in other discussions all the time. And I reach that with veganism. I mean, when it comes to it, like the first person that told me about it, I was like, oh no, I got to go research on this topic. I didn't even know that was a thing, when it came to the baby chicks and whatnot, so like I think but yeah, if you guys want, I could come back another time.
Yeah, for sure. Before I
Yeah.
let you go this time, though, I want to ask you one last question. I don't remember if I asked you this last time. Maybe I did. Maybe I didn't.
Oh yeah.
But what could you learn or discover that could get you from slaughterhouses should be eliminated to slaughterhouses can exist or should exist?
So the only thing that I would think about on that point, I'm actually not even sure if that's even like possible at this point, like just from like what I've read up on it. But the one point that I would say that would make my viewpoint a little bit milder would be that there are people with health issues that actually I don't know, like that's a good question. Shoot, let me think about it, because I don't want to give like a because it's essentially saying like where's your doubt on in this discussion, like where's like room to grow. um I think more like research can come up, like for me, like about like what are like people's obstacles towards like becoming vegan, or the arguments around it when it comes to my own viewpoint about whether slaughterhouses are good or not. Like outside of like situations where people have to eat animals for their health reasons, like they have severe food allergies and whatnot, I can't think of like a great reason for like animal consumption besides like a necessity. Like if there's a necessity for it, I understand it. And in those situations, I think that maybe perhaps there could be like hunting of there's a discussion that comes up about like there could be some species that are overpopulated, like deer, right?
Yeah.
And what do we do with their meat? And I think that like the meat from those animals could be used for like feeding people that have like specific dietary needs around it.
Sure.
Like they have to eat animals. But I don't know if
It
that would affect slaughterhouses.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what we're on that one.
Yeah.
Nick, I have a feeling we have many conversations in the future coming.
Thank you.
I
Appreciate it.
appreciate you going back and forth with us today.
Yeah. Thank you. Take care, you guys. Have a
You
good
too.
one.
All right, see you, Nick. Thanks.
See ya.
All right, I think we're bringing up. Who are we bringing up? I saw somebody.
Yep.
Strong
We have
atheist.
strong atheist.
Cool.
Hey, strong
Hey,
atheist.
how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Doing well.
Good.
Yeah, I was going back and forth in the side chat there about what to speak of. I wouldn't mind responding to why animals are good for food, or I could talk about atheism, whichever you prefer.
Really
What
up
feels
to
important to you?
Yeah, whatever's more important.
Okay, I'll just then, I'll start with the former, and then we can go to the latter if there's time, if you want to. But it's up to you, whatever you guys want. I just wanted to respond that these animals that we eat mostly are bred specifically for us to eat. If we stopped eating them, they wouldn't exist in the first place. So it's like they either get a short life or no life. It's not like these animals get to just have a pleasant life in the field and we're depriving them from that. They're specifically bred for us to eat for the most part. And that's the main thing that I just wanted to get at. We can go on to atheism if you prefer, but these people who are vegans and vegetarians believe they're actually saving animals, but they're preventing animals from having a short life. They're specifically bred for us to eat.
Okay. What do you
Go ahead.
what do you think Nick's response to what you've just said would be?
I'm not sure. I kind of asked in the side chat if I could debate, but they said this wasn't the format for that.
Right.
But I was ready to.
Yeah, we're just curious what you think his answer is, so we can see maybe the impression that he gives and your understanding of what the other person's viewpoint is.
Well, I mean, I've spoken with vegans and vegetarians plenty of times. They mostly just think that it's violent, but I'm not sure that they like have enough energy to make a real argument.
What would you say there's like still man their position? What would you say the best case that seems to be the most internally consistent?
Well, I would say that the best case would be that it's cruelty to animals, but my response is that the animals wouldn't exist in the first place. They're specifically bred for us to eat.
Does that what I guess would that make a difference?
Because they wouldn't exist in the first place. They're specifically produced for us. I myself believe that it's better to have a short life
Okay.
than no life. I don't know how you feel about that. That's
Hmm.
my position.
If there was a human, if there were two humans who were specifically making a child for one specific purpose, and that purpose was to, um, unfortunately, do something bad to
Something
them.
really negative.
Yeah, something really negative. I'm not going to say it. Would that be okay?
I'm not sure of your question. Are you asking for a human, would a short life be better than no life?
Um, I mean, I
I'm
guess
saying
like
because we brought a human into the world, does that mean that they have the right to do whatever they please with them because they wouldn't have existed without them anyways?
Did you bring the human into the world to specifically eat?
I'd hope not, but let's say if it was the case.
hypothetically.
Okay, right. So I mean, as far as I'm concerned, that wouldn't be okay. But I mean that's why I'm saying it's not quite the proper analogy there. However, based on my morals, the way I'm brought up, I wouldn't think that that's acceptable. But I think there is
Okay.
a double standard.
Can you okay? So it's not okay for humans, and I'm with you on that. I agree with you.
Agreed.
Totally on
Agree,
board.
right.
But
But
I
in
guess
every
can you
That's
explain
why
the
in
difference?
oh, go ahead.
What's
Go
the
ahead. Sorry.
yeah?
That's why in every country it's legal to kill animals to eat, and it's not legal to kill people to eat.
Is there
Legally?
anything you could
Yeah.
find out about animals that would change that category for you?
Not the ones that we breed to eat. I mean, I wouldn't be okay with, my dog or anything being eaten,
Mm.
but the ones that were bred specifically to be eaten, um, that's what they're bred for.
Would it be just
Yeah.
specifically your dog, or would it be all dogs?
I'd be against all dogs, but especially my dog.
Why dogs?
Because they're our pets, and we're not. I haven't been brought up to believe that that's okay. It's based on, my beliefs, the way I'm brought up.
If there was a breeder who was breeding dogs just for the meat, would that be okay?
Not in my opinion, but I do believe there are some, like in other countries.
Mm-hmm. The what? Why the discrepancy? I'm trying to understand. I want to understand your perspective here. What's the? Is it just because dogs can be used as a pet? Is that what you said?
No, it's based on the way I was brought up, my childhood indoctrination, that it's okay to eat, cows, chickens, pigs, turkeys, um, seafood. All these things are good. Dogs, cats, they're our pets. Not acceptable. Plenty of other animals that I wouldn't want to eat.
I want to make sure I heard you correctly. Did you say your indoctrination? Is that what I heard?
Yeah, my childhood indoctrination, sure, what I was brought up to think is right and
Okay.
wrong and correct or not correct.
Is is that a good way? Like childhood indoctrination, is that a reliable way to determine what is true?
No, not necessarily. It depends on what you think. Like there were things of my childhood indoctrination that I reject, such as God, but there are things that I don't. such as this position here.
If you're using this as your method for determining truth, childhood indoctrination for, which animals are good to eat, which are not okay to eat, how do you know if you're mistaken?
How does anyone know anything with certainty? I'm a fallibleist. I don't need certainty for knowledge. I come to my opinions, based on being an adult and based on everything that's led me this far in my life. And so some of my childhood indoctrination I accept and some I reject.
What criteria do you use to whether you accept it or reject it?
There's not really one criteria. It will depend on individual circumstances.
Okay. In this circumstance, what criteria would
So
you
with the
use?
having to do with the animals?
Yeah.
Oh, sure. So, I mean, I was brought up to eat animals. I've eaten animals since I was a kid, and specific ones, and that's why I'm totally okay with that. Not okay with other animals. Certainly not okay with your human analogy.
hmm So I'm going to try to repeat back what I'm hearing. So the criteria you've used to know that your childhood indoctrination is the correct viewpoint is that you've went through kind of your childhood and experienced these things and learned these things. That's how that's how you validated it. Is that what you said?
No, it's not how I validate it. That's how I was introduced to it. That's how I was brought
Okay.
up to believe that this was okay. But it took me till I was an adult to if you want to call it validate. I mean,
You
it's
can use a different word.
what's that?
We can use a different word. Really what I'm asking is how if different childhood indoctrination, some of them can be true, some of them can be false. I'm just wondering specifically with this animal thing like dogs versus cows or pigs. I'm just wondering if childhood indoctrination isn't a reliable method of determining truth. Why? How do you know that in this case it's a reliable way to know what's true about these animals?
Oh, sure. And I'm not claiming that that is a reliable way of truth. I'm just telling you
Oh,
what
okay.
led me to my belief. Yeah, I wouldn't say that's the case. It just has to do with my values, and as an adult, these values that I was, presented with as a child, I held on to and, accepted as an adult. Other indoctrinations, such as the belief in God, I didn't. I rejected that.
Okay. With regards to these values, uh, why choose one over the other? Why choose to accept one and why reject one?
Why choose one and not
Yeah,
another? I mean, this is what you have to decide on pretty much everything in your life.
I, I agree. I guess I'm asking because I'm trying to understand how you got there. Oh, I mean, I guess I understand how you got there. I'm trying to understand kind of your method. How want to help me out, David?
Yeah. I'm guessing. Oh, no, I'm guessing. So you mentioned earlier you grew up, you were Christian, and something convinced you otherwise, and now you're an atheist. And by that you had a criteria of something that didn't line up, or something that changed, and it helped change your mind.
No,
Um,
that's not correct. No, I didn't mention that I was Christian. I said that I believed in God and then rejected that. Did
I'm
not say
sorry,
I was.
I didn't mean to put words in your mouth there.
That's
Um,
okay.
but you used to believe in God,
Yep.
and then something did not harmonize with that, or you new information came in and gave you a new perspective.
Yes.
What
Correct.
new information could come in that would have you in a similar uh, mindset as someone like Nicholas?
I don't think there is any because the same, thing wouldn't apply. I'm to thoroughly convinced at my age that I'm correct. But there could be something that would convince me, but I highly doubt it. I'm pretty sure there's not. And I, believe that these animals being bred for us to eat, like if everyone, I'd rather them have a short life and I get to eat them than no life. If people stopped eating animals completely, it's not like these animals get to live freely, and enjoy a nice long life. No, they just would never exist. They're specifically bred for us to eat. In fact, chickens are bred to be breaded.
I'm wondering
Sorry.
if I brought
joke. Sorry.
It's okay.
Okay.
I'm wondering if I brought up Veronica. I'm gonna pick on her. Hey Veronica. Anyway, if I brought her up and we started having a conversation, and she took kind of the same perspective as Nick, and she told me, yeah, I had a lot of childhood indoctrination, and then I kind of just, as an adult, I had to, make up my mind and come to some sort of conclusion, and that's kind of where I'm at. And me being Pierce, I'm kind of haven't really heard these thoughts before, and I'm trying to figure out which side I should go with. What would be the best way for me to pick a side? To decide.
Sure, yeah. Hear both perspectives and come to your own conclusion.
Okay. Like, let's say I want to come to the correct conclusion. Like, I don't want to come to the incorrect conclusion. What can I use to come to the correct conclusion?
Yeah, sure. The criteria for that would then to be agreeing with me.
I'll try it.
Yep.
Fair enough. Thanks for letting us question you on something that you didn't really
plan on.
press like you were trying to make a big to do about. So thanks for letting us ask you a million questions on that.
Oh, sure. My pleasure.
I think we'll put you back down in the audience for now. If we don't have any more takers, we can always bring you back up at the end. I think we got Dingus Kitty next. Just know if you want to bring that person up to the stage, please. Thank you. How's it going?
Hey, can you hear me? Can you guys hear me?
Mhm.
Yep.
Awesome.
So
So my claim is, I think you read it earlier, is that if you are against animal abuse, you should be vegan.
Man, all the vegans tonight.
Yeah.
this is the animal rights show tonight.
Yeah. And I
Okay.
do want to respond to some of the things the previous guy said. So I don't know where you want to start.
Let's start at the whatever's most important to you.
Well, okay, so then I will respond to what the other guy said. So the couple things I see kind of flawed with that logic is, like, I think he understands it himself, but he didn't seem to want to address it, is that, this concept of if you are, forgetting the exact words he used, but like if you're basically conditioned to believe something is right or wrong, then, it's okay. Or I don't know if that was him using that as a justification, or I wasn't really clear on that either. But it seemed like some things he was conditioned with, like maybe his religion in the past, he actually questioned the legitimacy of it and the logic, and determined that it didn't make sense. I'm not so sure if he questioned the same thing, because when we with veganism, or sorry, with consuming animals, because when we were talking about, his reason was that because they are bred for that purpose, therefore it's justified. And I would say, well, you could technically, like us as human beings, we could technically breed anything we want for any purpose we want, right? Yeah, we could, like, I think somebody mentioned in the chat, like we could breed like young, young children for whatever purpose, right? Doesn't really justify the purpose. Doesn't justify what the action is, right? Just if there's harm caused to them. So yeah, I think you mentioned too, like we could, they breed dogs in China, like just because that's what their purpose was, they were bred for that purpose, doesn't justify it, right? Um, yeah, I mean, like you can apply all kinds of horrible things, horrible purposes, and say, oh well, that's what they were bred for, and can't really use. I don't think that's a good justification.
So I think what you're saying is that you start off by saying uh, if you're conditioned to believe something, you might be mistaken, I think, and that's not a
Yeah,
good justification to continue to believe something. And then furthermore, you continued on to say that the use for what the animal was originally imagined to be used for, like pre-birth, I guess you could say, shouldn't have any bearing on the the ultimate outcome. So you should be, just because you plan to use it for a specific purpose doesn't mean that that's okay to use for that specific purpose.
yeah,
Is that what I'm hearing?
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, like you could breed like child sex slaves or something like that. Doesn't justify the purpose, right?
Let's
Doesn't
keep it
justify
within
the
the
action.
YouTube community guidelines here. We don't
For
want to
sure.
get our stream taken down.
Oh, absolutely. I'm just highlighting the point. It's not like a good justification.
Yeah, I got you.
Because some people have a harder time acknowledging like non-human animals, so sometimes I have to bring it back to human animals and show like a different a different context for that application, I guess you could say.
Is this the claim that you'd
And
like
it's
to talk with us about, or is there another claim that you'd
well,
like
my
to
claim is
specifically?
my claim is if you are against animal abuse, you should be vegan.
Okay.
And I would add on to that is um if you are against animal abuse and you don't need to eat animals to survive, you should be vegan.
Well, how do you define animal abuse so we can better
Just
understand where you're coming from?
yeah, sure. So I define animal abuse to be causing harm or suffering to an animal, unnecessary harm or suffering to an animal.
Hmm.
Okay. If someone believes that animal abuse should not occur, then the position that they should hold is being, or the lifestyle they should have is being vegan. Is that what the claim is?
Yeah, I would think it'd be logically consistent. And to clear, I also want to define necessary, and I would say that necessary when I'm saying like if you don't need it, if it's not necessary for you to survive, it's based on survival. I don't think there's any other good justification to cause harm and suffering to innocent animals, sentient animals on top. I should be more clear.
If there was a situation, and I'm just trying to get clarification here. If there was a situation where an animal could be consumed without harming them, would that animal abuse could a person be non-vegan and still be against animal abuse? Is that possible?
There are scenarios where let me put this in context. So there are scenarios where it may be acceptable to consume animal products. For example, if I went on the street and I found like like some roadkill, right? I don't see a moral issue with it. I don't see that as a wrong. Unless you're driving like out of your way to kill the animal or something and then consume it. If you're not taking the life away from the animal and like there's an animal there like already killed and stuff, I wouldn't see that as a moral issue
Okay.
because at that
So
point the animal's already dead. You're not stealing the life of that animal.
maybe that wouldn't fall under the umbrella of veganism anyway. The
Yes,
roadkill?
exactly.
Okay. Okay.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
It
Nice,
would be
that's
kind of weird. It would be kind of odd. It would be kind of gross, but it wouldn't be like a moral issue. And that's what veganism is. It's a moral philosophy, right?
earlier. I asked Strong Atheist what he thinks the still man of the opposing position is. How he best understands the best case, most logical, consistent argument that's opposite of your claim here. Do you think you could try to provide that?
So I've heard a lot, right? A lot of opposing views, and I think basically the one I can't really argue with is I don't care, right? So if somebody doesn't care about animal abuse, if somebody doesn't really care about animals, right?
Well,
There's
sure.
nothing like
But maybe
yeah.
is there something down the other side that you could say, well, these people seem reasonable, but I still disagree.
I really haven't heard a good justification. Have yet to hear, which is why I'm vegan, right? Because I haven't really, I was on the other side. I wasn't like raised vegan or something. I was not vegan for most of my life, and I used to say all these excuses that most people say to justify killing and consuming animals. But I realized there was no good justification, which is why I became vegan.
Hmm. Is there anything that you could find out about animals or eating or life in general that could change your opinion?
Sorry, what was the second thing? Find out about animals, or what was the second thing?
Is there anything you could find out that would change your mind? Is there something that, if this was the case, then you would have a different claim about this?
I'd have to think about that. Yeah, I'd have to think about that. I just haven't really heard anything good. I haven't heard any sound logic for justifying the uh, you know immense causing immense suffering and ultimately the death of an animal, early death of an animal, for ultimately sensory pleasure, right? Taste pleasure.
Is there anything that you could learn, discover, read, see that could make you question your position? Hypothetically.
Anything I can learn, read. I think that was just just kind of you just restated the previous question. It sounds like the same thing.
Go ahead.
It was
Explain. Well,
similar, yeah.
I heard it as, is there something that you could find out about the world versus something that somebody could kind of argue? I don't know if that's different.
Yeah. I mean, like maybe like if we found out that like we're all holograms or something like that, and like um, I really don't know, honestly. Yeah, like it's just it's a kind of imaginary point. I'm not really sure what I would what information would convince me, because there hasn't been any yet.
I'd like to just ask one last question, and then if David has more questions after
Maybe
that.
you can propose a few things, and then I can like tell you if that would convince me.
I don't think I have any ideas on that.
Okay.
But I would like to ask.
Question, though. I'd like to hear what it was.
Oh, yeah. I'm wondering is there a desire or a need or something that drives you to this belief, like something internal?
Yeah, it's two things. The one is empathy, and the other is uh, um, basically, I seek justice, and so those two things combined leads me to this decision.
Okay. Empathy for the animals, and then I guess what do you mean by justice?
Justice, fairness.
Fairness. Okay.
Yeah.
You have a desire for animals to be treated fair and to
I have a
be in
a
your
strong value for justice, fairness. Yes.
Okay.
Mm.
If someone doesn't have that desire or that value, and their position is the opposite of yours, is that something that a position that they should hold?
If they don't have the same value of justice and fairness, um, I have to think about that. I'm not sure, but
Fair enough.
I would say that even like for example, right? Like I mean, there are people that may not hold that value, but we still would want them to. We would still want them to not cause, unnecessary harm. Like so we could. It's hard for people to always to think of animals because kind of categorize them into different. Um, so like if for humans, right? We obviously there's some people that don't have that value of fairness and justice, right? But yet we still want for other humans to behave in a way that doesn't cause like additional harm or suffering to other humans, right? And so I would still, I would still want to apply that even to those people that don't have that value of fairness and justice. But I think also the fairness and justice comes from empathy, from my empathy, which most people do have.
Mm.
Should we have empathy towards animals?
I would think so. I would hope so.
Understandable.
Yeah,
Why should we
I
have?
do understand that. To go a little further into that, I think that some people, I think empathy can also be modified. Um, so what I mean by that is that, like in some cultures, we empathize with certain creatures. In some other cultures, we empathize with, like for example, here like we empathize with the humans, cats, and dogs, right? And then I feel like just like the other person said, we've been conditioned not to empathize with cows, pigs, and chickens, right? And I think that originally the empathy was there, but over time, due to our societal conditioning, we've been taught to just kind of be desensitized to that empathy, even though we like recognize that there's some sort of wrongness there. Like some people recognize that there's some sort of wrongness. I know I did when I still like,
Okay.
but we try not to acknowledge it. We just kind of push it out of our mind, and we're like desensitized to it, right? As opposed to like in comparison to like dogs and cats in this country. So we have a higher level of empathy and compassion for these other animals.
Okay.
And I think that's also due to societal conditioning, like in maybe for
Yeah.
example in like
I got
some other countries.
I gotcha. I think I'm just going to ask this one question. I think we need to go on to the next callers.
Sure.
What do you think would help people get more empathy?
I think exposing. Well, so I believe everything starts with information, right? Everything starts with information, and I think from information you get knowledge. So this is my my plateaus, right? So like information, and with information you get knowledge. With knowledge you become aware. You have awareness, and with awareness you can make conscious decisions. And I think people are lacking the very bottom part of it is the information. And so a lot of people just don't know like what is happening to animals, what like extreme lives of suffering they live, and the standard practices of the industries, which are absolutely horrific. Like, they grind up male chicks in the blender the first day of their life in the egg industry. They essentially well, I don't want to say that, the R word, but they forcibly impregnate cows every year, and they're forced to be pregnant every year, forced to have a baby every year in the dairy industry, and the babies
Sure.
are snatched away from them. And so exposing yourself to the reality of the nature, like of what's actually happening, rather than, because it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, they like to hide it from the public, and most of the public have not seen this. And then on top of that, getting in contact, having a what's the word I'm looking for? Just interacting with these animals that you consume, right? So the fact is, most people have not interacted with farm animals, and so in their minds, it's much easier to justify all this horrible stuff done to them, because a lot of people think of them as just dumb, stupid animals, and don't realize they have personalities and desires and wants and
Sure.
families and friends, just like our cats and dogs and other humans, right?
Yeah.
And so it's
More
easier to
exposure,
disconnect.
more
So it's
exposure, more
yeah.
information. I don't mean to cut you off, but we got people
Okay.
lined up, and
Yeah.
I can't stay up 3 hours doing this time.
Right
My wife will
on.
kill me.
All right, I think we were going to bring up the person with the bunch of T's next. Oh, or that person. That works too. They're already up here.
Sorry, they were next in line. So,
Okay, that's
Tail, are
fine.
you there?
Yep, I'm here.
All good.
Hey, Tail.
Hey,
Hey.
what's up?
So, love does not exist. It's a
Love
fairy
does-
tale. It's a fake, a sham.
What is love?
Yeah, baby, don't hurt me. Yeah, I see you shaking your head.
Baby, don't hurt me.
No,
Well-
so what is love? Yeah.
Well, I think it means a lot of things to different people, but what I'm highlighting here specifically is the trick that people convince other people that they either are loved or will be loved, and they fall for it. These things do not really exist. At the basis of love really is just personal goals, self-interest, which then, then they use this story of love on top of it to convince people that there's something else going on, something magical, something that requires faith. And once you trick people into it, you have a better chance of getting what it is you really want. So it's really goal driven. I mean, love does exist in movies and maybe romance novels. In fiction, that's really where you find it.
Are we
But-
talking specifically about romantic love?
We could be talking about romantic love, or we could even be talking about the biological imperative of a parent to love their children. That even doesn't exist. That it's a strategy for self-preservation, for moving the species forward. It's not something you can count on. It's not unconditional, which you'll hear a lot of people use the word love with. Unconditional love. That definitely doesn't exist. Because love does not survive scrutiny. Love can be torn apart very easily. It requires one diminishing one's awareness to maintain itself. You have to ignore certain things about the other person. In fact, that's why they say love is blind. Because you literally stop paying attention to things that you should be paying attention to. And if you had, you might have avoided the exact issues that would have broken your heart in the first place.
I'm
It
trying
requires
to
faith.
understand. You're describing you're using the word love in a bunch of different scenarios of things that do happen, but you're saying it doesn't exist, and I just want to fully understand what you mean, because you're saying that there's the love for a parent and a child, but that's not real. But
It's biological.
But is there something different than just typical? what I'm trying to say is, what are other people describing then? And I'm trying to understand the definition of love in your world here.
Well, yeah. So like, how do you want me to address that? Like, where exactly is it that you feel like, where's the gap that I need to fill in? Because you've obviously said to people in your life, "Hey, I love you," right?
Oh, I have, yes. Yeah.
Okay, great. So
And I love conversations like this.
okay, great. Yeah, you love conversations like this. So in one way I like to define love is its resonance. It's the way in which we resonate with each other. It's the similarities that we have, the similarities that we find. But this is my point. Love does not survive scrutiny. It requires that we blind ourselves to questions of other people. Otherwise, that resonance will be destroyed. Like take, for example, what we're doing here. Street epistemology. It's a way in which asking questions to get people to notice things they previously may not have noticed. It's scrutinizing the underpinnings or the foundations that people have built to make decisions about what they think is or is not happening in the world. Would you agree with that?
I would use a little bit different terminology. I'd probably use the word explore, but more or less it's similar. Yeah, similar to what you said. I would say.
Yeah. Because to explore is to find the unknown, right? To find something that you previously don't know or something you're not paying attention to. But there's always a danger with that. There's always a danger because you might find out something that will go against what you thought you knew or what you thought was. It could potentially rock the very foundation of your whole of everything you think, putting you into an existential crisis.
I suppose that's possible. And I'm trying to grasp the connection between love not existing and this about defining in the process of street epistemology.
Well, love, okay, so I'll repeat it again. So love cannot survive scrutiny. It requires that you blind yourself to certain facts. Otherwise, you break the spell.
Does that make it not real?
Yeah. It's literally it's a either you're deceiving yourself purposely or you're being deceived. It's a manipulation one way or the other. The connection to street epistemology is what I made before, is the scrutiny. You say exploration. I say that's the same thing as scrutiny, because you're eventually going to come across, there's going to be something that you're going to come across that's going to either expand your knowledge in a way that's going to go against what you currently, any assumptions that you currently had. Does that make sense?
I think, let me try to repeat back what I'm hearing, because I'm not sure if I got it or not, but maybe I do. So I think like you're saying, like you have this belief and you're kind of like comparing that to love. So like you have this belief and you're really confident that this belief is true. You're like, go team, right? And that's kind of like love. And then you go through street epistemology and you might explore beliefs with someone. And then at the other end of that, you might be like, oh no, no longer go team. We're cheering for the other team now. We're cheering for the other team. And it's like, well, that wasn't a true belief because like you changed your mind. So it's like you fell out of love, but then was that love really true? Is that kind of what you're saying?
Well, yeah, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but don't you agree that through street epistemology, you are always putting the person in danger of poking at their belief systems, right?
Yeah.
Because if you kick at the legs of a table and one of the legs goes, there's a probability that table might fall over.
like with street epistemology, people can change their minds and come out of it on the other end, coming to a different conclusion than they previously had. Yeah, I would agree with
Yeah.
you.
But
Yeah.
it would probably be less of a kick out and more of a, all right, see, this is a wobbly leg. You if you put more pressure on this, it's going to fall.
Well, yeah, take a look at the first caller you had. There was actually a point where you asked them a question where I heard them go, "Ooh, I got to think about this." That they didn't have enough information, or they were starting to pay attention to something they previously were not paying attention to, that caused them a problem. So my point, the reason why I say love is not real is because it either requires you purposely deceiving yourself or being manipulated, which may or may not be your fault. I'm not putting any onus on that. I'm just saying there is a manipulative aspect to love that shows it's truly not something that people can it requires faith, basically, right? It requires you believing something without having evidence.
Can someone love someone because the other person is fulfilling a need of theirs, a human need?
Yeah.
So is that love real?
Well, that's a great question. If you scrutinize it and it falls apart, was it real?
What do you mean by scrutinize?
My inclination is that it wasn't.
What do you mean by scrutinize?
If you scrutinize something, sorry, go ahead.
What do you mean by scrutinize? I'm having trouble understanding that.
Well, ask questions. Analyze it.
Okay.
Gather more information.
Do you think things like trust or hope are real in the same way or not real in the same way? Or are we using them as essentially attribution errors?
Well, yeah. So yeah. I mean, of course, you and I know they. Okay. Let me not make that assumption. Yes, they could be attribution errors. We don't know yet. So to hope is potentially dangerous, but hope is also what can help us get through things. It's when we're sitting at the edge of the unknown and we're trying to figure out what do we do next. Hope is a really, really good thing to have because it's what helps push us forward. Part of the point that I'm making about love is this incessant fact that it requires manipulation to convince other people things that they then have to ignore, because if you were to scrutinize it, it would all fall apart. Like there was a study done where they showed, for example, shows like The Bachelor are the worst way to develop good relationships. A good relationship is better built on not on scrutiny. When you date more than one person, you put yourself into a position where you're constantly comparing one person to another person. And it inhibits you from being able to really appreciate that person within their own context. It's something that's very difficult for humans to do. And another great example of this is in the book Predictably Irrational. They show that when you give people a lot of choices, it confuses them, overwhelms them, and they typically either won't make a choice or they'll go for something that may not even be a good deal for them. Great book, by the way. So we're not really designed to make these kind of choices because we're limited. We have constraints, and it's because of these constraints that things like hope exist and can be a good strategy. Now, my claim that love does not exist is based again on this fact that it cannot survive scrutiny. It requires deliberate deception and manipulation to exist.
I'm not trying to catch on words. I'm trying to understand what you mean here, because
No,
you just
please
said
go ahead.
hope is real, but love is not. But they're the similar
I would say that
connections
hope is necessary because we're constrained individuals, and because there's no way for us to know everything. Hope is a good strategy for dealing with the unknown and helping us move forward, because it allows us to imagine new ideas, new
Couldn't you
worlds.
scrutinize
things-
that and it would stop being real, so to speak?
Yes, and not only that, but you must. Like hope within it is there's the chance that whatever you want might not ever be possible. Like I could wish that Pokemon were real, but that may not ever be true. You know what I mean?
I'm wondering, Tail, where does this belief that love is not real, where did it originate for you?
Oh, very simply by experiencing what was love, or people considered love, and just to have it didn't survive scrutiny. It completely fell apart. I had family members who told me, blood is thicker than water. And I realized, no, it's not. That's completely wrong. Because I would see people who were family who would side with other people who were not their blood. So that was completely false.
I'm sorry you had to witness that.
Yeah,
Oh,
it sucks.
no problem. I went through a divorce. But see, I was already I already kind of knew what like this is why commitment and I'm trying to think of a good word. Commitment to another individual can be stronger than love. If I was with someone just because I love them, that's definitely not enough. That will not survive scrutiny, especially when it comes to commitment. Commitment is a far better glue to hold relationships together than love is.
If
Do you have
hadn't,
like a
Love is
metric?
fickle.
Do you have an experience or set of experiences you could have happen to you that would be a marker to say, okay, I was mistaken. These people were deceptive. These people were incorrect. These people were inconsistent. But this is real. Do you have like a marker of what could happen to change your mind?
Well, in the onset of me describing this, I said that what's really behind love is selfish interest. So,
Do you feel like you were being selfish interest whenever you were putting out love?
I mean, sometimes. I mean, I have weird quirks about myself, about what I love and what I don't love. And they typically revolve around either me wanting to be around someone because I want to know them better. I want to understand them. I do have those drivers within me, which are difficult to understand or where they come from. So but this is why love is not completely, what's the word? It's not completely out there in the open for us to see what exactly what's behind it, right? Like it's people say like, "Oh, I love you," and people go, "Oh, well, they love me." But again, the without knowing that if you press on that, if you scrutinize that, you can very easily tear it apart.
I'm
Okay,
wondering,
this
Tail.
isn't. Go ahead. Go ahead, Pierce.
I'm wondering, Tail. You described some of these personal experiences you've had, some with the family members. You mentioned you went through a divorce. If you hadn't had these personal experiences, what do you think your outlook on love would be?
I would probably be naive. I think that's, which is, by the way, which is fine. That is a paradise to where I am right now. I mean,
If
being naive and enjoying life and loving life and being in love, that's beautiful. Like that. In fact, that's probably why I probably shouldn't even be talking about this, because there might be someone in the audience going, "Oh my gosh, he's right," and now I'm totally destroying their view of love.
Wait
But
a
yeah,
minute.
I would
That
say,
sounds like some loving concern for your neighbor there.
oh yeah, good one.
if there was someone who had a much different personal experience than you did, and they were absolutely convinced that love did exist, and there was David sitting here, and he doesn't know anything. He's just a guy who does call-in shows all day. And how would David figure out who's correct and who's incorrect?
Well, again, the primary basis of this is self-deception, manipulation. They would have to protect themselves from scrutiny. They would have to put up boundaries saying, you do not get to scrutinize my love for this person. That would be the way that they would have to protect themselves.
Mm.
So
if-
my claim that love does not survive scrutiny is a critical one. And if someone said you cannot scrutinize love, then I would say then yes, you are purposely deceiving yourself for whatever gains you are currently getting from that love.
We'll wrap it up real quick here. I just have one
Sounds
last
good.
question that I'd like to ask. If I were to say that I love my wife and she fulfills a need for me, and the love is
I'm
kind of
sorry,
like
you love I'm sorry. I think I misheard you. Could you
oh,
repeat that?
if I love my wife
Yeah.
and I were to say that she is fulfilling a need of mine or needs, and that is kind of the basis of that love. If that need or needs were no longer fulfilled, there wouldn't be that love. Would that be an accurate statement?
Yes.
Would that love exist?
Well, I mean, that's a great question. So it depends on how you want to define love in that instance.
Okay.
Because if all we're saying is that love is like if there's no difference between the needs that your wife fulfills for you and the needs that hardware Hank fulfills for you down at the hardware store, then
Love
you
that
must
guy.
say that
I love
hardware
Hardware
Hank
Hank.
loves you as well.
That guy.
Maybe a slightly different kind of love, but maybe.
Less interconnected.
Right.
Yeah.
The key difference here is if you and your wife are honest about that, then I would commend you. But if you say things like, I'll love you forever, or, which obviously goes against what you just said, because
Would
you
you-
said that
Would
if
you
those
believe in a
needs were no-
love? Would you believe in a love that had conditions? Like I would stop loving my wife if she like stabbed me, or stabbed my family. Like that would be a marker that would make me change. But in the context of the situation, the communication and the experiences, I mean, I think they can be valid in that moment. And it's like you get 1,000 by 1,000 JPEG picture. You look at it, it's a horse, but you zoom in and you see just a bunch of squares. Just because you can scrutinize and see that it's blurry when you get really in, does that not mean that the horse message wasn't truly communicated at the time?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And here's why. Because if you're saying that love is a verb, Love is something you do. I love other people, but I can also choose to not love other people. Yeah, I can agree with that definition. But if you're telling me that love is a thing, that it actually exists, like that it's somehow like there's like when people say things like that there's a love here that can't be broken, that is fantasy. If you're saying love is something you do, I can agree with you. That does exist. In the same way that you vacuum your carpets and you're vacuuming, or you're loving your wife, you're loving. Yes. I mean, yeah, that exists. But if you're going to try and say it's a thing, I don't think it exists.
I think this is a good
Something to
place
think
to
about.
wrap it up.
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you so much for
Appreciate you sharing.
Yeah, that was awesome. All right, let's bring up whoever might be next. All right, I have no idea how to pronounce that username, so I'm not going to try. How's it
Hello?
going, though? Hello.
It's a totemizer. It's like symbolizer, but it's a bit more objective.
All right.
Neat.
And what would you like to talk about? What do you wish others believed also?
Lying to oneself or lying by omission is just as much a lie as lying to others.
What's it mean to lie to yourself?
Mislead yourself, deceive yourself, manipulate yourself into believing falsehoods.
So honestly, this is a difficult conversation to have because it's like a normative claim. It's like saying this it's better or
Yes.
worse to do this, and it's kind of.
Well, we had a few normative claims to get to.
I know that's,
tonight.
and I'm trying to catch myself. My ADHD took a long time to kick in, and realize okay. But I mean, I'm glad to wrestle with it a little bit here. So you're saying it's just as bad as lying to others. And
Yes, and maybe I can clarify it a little bit if it's not. I mean, you tell me.
Sure. Yeah, let's hear more.
So this is coming from me recognizing a pattern lately, where I saw some people consistently lying. A majority of people around them seeing them they are lying, but because their immediate surroundings, the people who were closest to them, defended them and said that, oh no, they actually believe it, or things like that. You probably heard of these patterns. I mean, I can give famous politician names from the UK and the US who everybody knows about, where this pattern fits. It just feels to me that there is this strong societal norm already that you cannot call a liar a person, and this is so harsh that even just say to a single claim that, oh, I think that's a lie, is immediately equated by being the person who made that claim a liar. Like, I already disagree with that. I think we should differentiate between the two, saying that one is a lie and then calling someone a liar is a much harsher claim. But overall, to me, I think we should differentiate between honest mistakes when somebody is not in the position of knowing something and they make maybe a consistent or a confident claim that is just wrong. And then maybe they don't even want to learn, but they are mistaken. That's a different thing. But sometimes people are either were aware, so they made inconsistent claims, or they've been told and they insist, even though they've been told otherwise, that no, that's just, and like, I can give examples like, oh, I've always helped my friends, or like, oh, I haven't been drinking for a year now, or things like that, where people do say these things.
Why do you think it's important to examine this? Why do you think it's important to not lie to yourself?
Well, it would be nice if it wouldn't be abused. Like if this pattern wouldn't exist, like if we couldn't recognize this so widely, then I would be like, yeah, it's fine. But I think it's just too much.
Where does this belief come from?
What I just described.
Okay, fair enough. Is there a deeper reasoning behind it? Is there something behind the curtains?
How do you mean?
Like, I guess is there a value behind it that you hold that supports it?
Value in what sense?
Like we were talking earlier about veganism, and one of the values was to have justice, and what was the other one? Empathy for animals, and that was the empathy was kind of like the value that was supporting the not to being against animal abuse. Is there a value that is supporting your claim?
I don't really believe in these things, to be honest. To me, these very, like when you make a vague claim that is very general and it should be applicable everywhere, I think it runs into the exact problem that what we heard in the last discussion, that once you try to fit it everywhere, it's going to fall apart. So I don't really believe in, like I believe in very specific situations being questions, but like if you make a vague claim, then you're going to run into problems. So I don't think that I should justify it or that it's always morally good to not lie or something like that. No, I just think that there is a pattern in society, and we in the Western world are very adverse of calling people out when they are lying, and this allows sociopaths and psychopaths just to run rampant, and basically anytime they are caught, they just say that, oh no, I actually believe it, and then nobody can do anything.
How do you feel when these things occur? Like if someone were to lie, I guess.
It's usually doesn't start there, so like I already am frustrated by that time, right? Like when like these things don't usually start at the point when I recognize that somebody is lying. It's usually like there was a longer period of things happening.
Gotcha. But eventually you would feel frustrated, it sounds like.
I think that's an apt way to describe it.
Okay. And what is the cause of that frustration? Or what's behind that frustration? What don't you like that is causing that?
I think you mentioned nonviolent communication, so I'm a big fan of it. And I can say that I feel frustrated because I am expecting like something else. I expect people to like just use their brains and intelligence in a way that's just better for everyone. But yeah, so it's both about the people who think that lying is the best and like just wanting to make a competition about everything, and people who are defending them because I guess they are afraid of conflict or whatever else. How they justify they being adverse to calling out these strongmen or well.
What do you think the best response is to somebody who's lying that you're witnessing?
Best in what sense?
Most effective in neutralizing the lie and or getting the truth out?
I don't really think there is a good way for a single person to do this, right? So it's much easier to lie, and then especially on one-on-one, and there is usually a group of people who are actually enabling this situation. So what I would like just by this discussion and making like I'm basically raising this topic almost everywhere I can, and just let people know that I feel that there is something to be done here. And hopefully at some point, not necessarily because I did anything, but hopefully at one point we're gonna just change our norms and call out these things sooner and not let people build up so much power by misleading others. So that's what I think the best is, to neutralize it. I don't think there is anything else we can do in sense of neutralizing, because like in the single moment when these things happen, things are usually progress so much that it's like you can take away the power from the single person, but that the situation still remains.
Mm. Yeah, I can relate to your frustrations with that. I appreciate you sharing your belief on that, and thanks for letting us ask some questions as we tried to figure out if there's anything that needed to be expanded upon that we didn't understand. But I think I'm following where you're at, and I'm going to thank you for coming up.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, let's get the next person up on the stage. Hello, hello.
Hello.
See if we'll give them a moment here to get their mic working.
Yahweh is King. You're up.
All right, let's get it working. Oh, okay. Maybe not. We'll bring the next person up. Maybe they can get their situation figured out there. Hello, hello.
Yo, 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 what do you know? And how do you know
Here on
it?
the internet.
Exactly. That's kind of what we're doing.
You hear me?
We can hear you. So what
Right.
what do you wish others believed also?
Say that again?
What do you wish others believed also? What do you think's true, and what would you like to have other people believe as well?
Oh, you guys didn't get my claim. I'm
I
holding
did not see it.
that those who do believe in God, the belief they have in this God is a mental concept, and that's where it stays.
God or gods are mental concepts? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And how did you arrive at this conclusion?
Oh, based on, I guess, the process of induction on understanding that claim of this God. Mind you, if the person is claiming God is a material mind that is the creator for all things that exist, we have a plethora of naturalistic explanations, not include necessity for quote unquote a God or gods or anything supernatural.
Okay.
What would an evidence for a god or a gods or supernatural look like?
That's a good question. Like to me, see, people may disagree with what I consider supernatural. So when I hear the term supernatural, that's something that's outside our natural realm. We have yet to experience. So if we do have something that we don't quite understand that is actually occurring in our natural realm, claim and understand that we would label that unexplained natural phenomenon. And hopefully we can understand what it is and how it occurred, right? Something that can break the laws of physics, quote unquote, considered supernatural. However, since it occurs in the natural realm, Ergo, it's going to be an unexplained natural phenomenon. For those who claim they have this revelation of God, if this God does exist, why not this God reveal itself to everybody? So why not everybody have this quote unquote personal experience and know that this is the God that exists? That would be something that would convince believers that this God exists. You're asking me?
Sorry, I hesitated for a second. I forgot my question.
Yeah, you're asking like what would be a good demonstration for a God existing or supernatural existing, right?
Right. Could a God exist and it only be revealed to a limited number of people?
I guess so. I mean, I'm nobody to claim 100% certainty on anything, right? So I guess that could be the case. Or with things that are said, reveals itself to all, right? And those who do not believe in this God, quote, denying the truth, not accepting the truth, right? So this is all based upon scripture written by, once again, human beings, and human beings are fallible. So that is why my claim stands true, because God is a mental concept brought up and put into existence by human beings.
Does this apply to all claims of God or just specific ones?
Well, the Abrahamic God, for one, I guess even God of Islam, the Muslim God, Allah as well. Maybe I'm not. I don't know all the gods, right? Maybe like a pantheist, the universe is God, right? Or everything is God. So that would be that's a deity, right? That's not a God that interacts with us on a day to day. This is
Okay,
referring to
so
the God of the theism world, right?
so we're talking about like a personal God, a God that interacts with people.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. And would this God have to interact with people, or could this God choose not to interact with people? Is that something that could happen?
Yeah, all things are possible. I would agree. Yeah, sure.
Okay. So I think one
However,
of you.
it would follow because many people make the claim that they have had an interaction with this God. So there's an interaction at some point in time, whether it be one or 10 or 10,000. There's some sort of interaction. Interaction is really based upon personal experience, and that personal experience I would never take away from anybody. However, that personal experience is concept, and they would have to agree that.
Earlier, you said that something supernatural would be something that breaks the laws of physics and or logic. I believe you might have said logic, but the if you witness something that you thought was that, would that increase your potential belief that that a God exists? And if so,
Yeah, I
by
can give
how
an
much?
example. Yeah, so I would go from a non-believer to a believer that a God may exist if and only if this say even a person can say, hey, look, I've been messaged by this God. This God told me that this person who lost a limb, I have the capability through the power of God regenerate that limb instantly, and that happens before my eyes and everybody else's eyes, or even just before my eyes. Be like a wow moment. So
Mm.
that would be something that would totally break the laws of physics. That is beyond what we have seen in reality and in the medical field. occur would be something be like, oh, okay, so maybe there is a God.
If you never experience anything like that, never witness anything like that, would that be a good indication that a God does not exist?
No, I wouldn't say that. The fact that I have yet to have a revelation of a God or witness any quote unquote miracles, it doesn't it doesn't make that there is no God. It just doesn't support the God claims.
Okay. What is
I mean, basically,
your
God is. Go ahead.
what
Pierce,
is
you go for it.
your how confident are you that this personal God does not exist?
98.9%, I guess.
Okay. And what has gotten you to that 98.9%?
All the naturalistic explanations for things that we know that exist that we can comport with, right?
Okay. The natural explanations.
Naturalistic explanations. There's more informative data that we can ascertain that explained through naturalistic explanations, not theologies, not belief systems, basic evidence that we can verify and test.
If let's say we have a natural explanation, well, we have a lot of natural explanations for a lot of things. I'm sure you would agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I guess how does the natural explanations correlate with the personal God?
I don't think they actually do.
Then I guess why use that as a reason to believe the personal God doesn't exist?
Because the natural God is unnatural. It is something to be claimed to be an immaterial mind outside of space and time. So when people make those assertions, it seems like something that cannot actually exist in reality that we comport with. How can something exist outside of space and time? I don't get that. How can something immaterial act with the material?
Is that necessary for a personal God?
Well, it's the God that's mostly defined by when I have conversations with theists.
Could they be mistaken?
Of
Like
course they
about
can.
that,
Yes.
like about that specifically about that attribute? Yeah.
Yes, they certainly can. Yes.
Okay. So if they can be mistaken about that attribute, then I guess why be at 98.9%?
Well, the my high confidence level about the God that I believe, that me personally, I believe no God, that there are no God or gods or anything supernatural, is based upon all of the data that I've ascertained through the naturalistic explanations, right? Nothing to
Okay.
lead me to the possibility of something in that endeavor that can exist. That's why I'm highly confident. Yeah.
Is there any natural explanation that is like this piece of the natural explanation shows that there isn't a personal God?
No, because they don't dive into that. Naturalistic explanations deal with the natural world around us, right? That's the scientific method, right?
Right.
They don't dive into things that are unnatural outside of our realm.
Let me ask you this. You say you haven't had a personal experience of something supernatural happening, but what if someone that you really, really, really trusted, like I don't know, a spouse, a
My daughter, you
professor,
can use my daughter. You
your
can use my
daughter?
daughter.
Yeah,
Mhm.
if your daughter told you that they had a supernatural experience, but they can't provide you the evidence, like a limb growing back,
Mhm.
where would you be on the scale at that point?
The same. I would just honestly tell her, look, you had an experience. That's your experience. Denying you had the experience. I don't think that you, I don't think it's something that is supernatural.
Is there
Something
anything that
occurred.
your daughter could tell you that would change your mind as a in a trust way, like that they experience maybe, or something about it?
Like regarding a personal experience?
Yeah, is there any way that you could believe in the supernatural by somebody else's experience, like on trusting on another person?
Um, I would not be convinced that that was actually what occurred. If even if my daughter said that she around somebody who levitated, I would say, yeah, you experienced that, you saw that. It is highly possible it was an illusion. Those things do occur. So it depends, even regardless of what the event may have been, that would be her experience, and it would be a difficult thing to convince me.
I'd like to go back to you said that there was these, we have these natural explanations, and I think you said that the scientific method can't test for certain things that are supernatural. And my
Right.
question,
We don't have that. We don't have that capability.
right? And my question is, if we can't test for the supernatural, how do we know that it doesn't exist?
Well, that's a good question. I can honestly say we don't know. We're brought up like if we have an event that occurs within our reality and we don't have the means to explain how that event occurred or what that event actually is, we know that event occurred. It would be called unexplained natural phenomenon, as far as I understand. Something that occurred within our reality yet to be explained. It's undetermined as to how it was caused and what it was, right?
Okay. Um, if we don't know the cause, and it sounds like we don't really have a good way to test for it, should we be at a 98.9% confidence that the supernatural doesn't exist and that it was a natural explanation?
If we don't know. Well, I mean, my confidence level is based on all the information we have for things that we currently comport with, right? Yet to really come across something would sway these events that are unexplained, right? So as of right now, majority of the events that we interact with are explainable through naturalistic explanations, right? The scientific method can explain things. So I guess when and if we have something that occurs, my confidence level would drop. Until then, holding my stance.
If somebody had a different claim and it was untestable, we couldn't test to see whether they were correct or incorrect, what do you think that they should say regarding their claim? Where should their confidence be?
That's a good question. I would presume they can they're making a claim that they don't know if it's an unfalsifiable claim is what you're saying.
Correct.
Yeah, I guess it could be a 50-50 scale. They don't know if it is true or if it's untrue.
So basically saying, I don't know.
Yeah,
And
Not necessarily agnostic, because they have a thought, they have an idea of what it is, yet they don't know exactly how to demonstrate it because
they
it's
should
neither verifiable or falsifiable.
it should be somewhere around that middle mark then.
Yeah.
Okay. Why are you not at that middle mark?
Based upon all the data that we have that is explained through naturalistic explanations. There's a preponderance of stuff that we have verifiable versus the claims that are unverifiable. They're unfalsifiable claims.
Do you think the supernatural is unfalsifiable?
Yes. We don't have a way to test for something that is quote unquote supernatural. All things that we are able to test and verify are within our natural realm, right? So, and that's why I said anything that does occur within our reality is a natural phenomenon. And if it's unexplained, like we don't know how it happened and what it is, it's an unexplained phenomenon, natural phenomenon.
Should we be open-minded to uh I don't know, figuring out ways to determine if something's supernatural?
Determine if something is supernatural. Well, see that's so. I think whole thing supernatural. It's things that have yet to occurred, right? Just um, mysteries, uh,
Hmm.
legends. Uh, they're story tales, they're fables, they're things of mystery. So like if something was to occur, that's why like UFOs, people think UFOs is exactly that. It's an unidentified flying object, right? So it's an unexplained natural phenomenon. People experience this. We have, pictures, we have radar tracings, we have a lot of data that says, look, we see something, exactly what it is, yet it was there. So it's something that was in our natural realm. It's not something what I would call supernatural. Yeah, it's behaving in a manner of that we can't currently do with our technology, like go from, zero elevation to a mile elevation within a blink of an eye. And it has the capability, whatever it was, to do that. And that's not quote unquote supernatural. So this phenomena supernatural is kind of just a big question mark to me. I don't think it actually does exist.
Big question mark.
Yeah,
Big
nice
question
one.
mark.
Yeah, beautiful. Big question mark. Yeah.
All right, we got 5 minutes left on the show here.
Cool.
I'd like to try to fit one more person in, but thanks for coming up and having a chat.
No, yeah, thanks for talking. I appreciate it. Yeah, it was awesome.
All right, we'll try to fit one more quick one in. All right, can you hear us?
I can
Work this
hear. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Fantastic.
Oh, sweet.
almost here, yeah.
So
Uh,
is it a formal claim?
sorry, Yahweh's King.
Breaking up.
You're breaking up.
Like, can you hear me better now?
Yeah, now we
Yeah,
can.
that's better. Yeah.
So do I just make a claim of what I want others to know, or is there a
Yes.
specific format for the claim?
Just tell us what you thought of when you heard that.
So what I would like everybody to know that's in my heart is Elohim in them, and who Elohim is. That's the core of what I want for others to know.
Mm.
What does that mean? I didn't quite catch that word.
Elohim, it's the term commonly translated in the scripture as gods, or in the Bible as gods or God. But that's through a misunderstanding of who and what Elohim is.
What is Elohim then, in your thoughts, your view?
So Elohim is Yahweh. So Yahweh, who is spirit, spirit being the source, substance, limits and bounds of all things. Elohim is Yahweh in shape and form. He took on shape and form right within himself and created all things that were made. And that is the inner man of every man.
Where does this belief come from?
This understanding originates from divine vision and revelation given by Yahweh himself, or in other words, the only way to understand or know what the Creator has to say about anything is from him himself.
Is this how you've
How-
made this determination?
There's that delay that we were
Yeah.
talking about in the chat. I think his
On
signal's a little rough.
satellite. Yeah.
Give him just another second, give it a shot. But we can't hear you.
I think his connection might have cut out entirely here, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That would have been a really fun chat to have.
I know.
Is it
I'd love
is
to have
it
that chat.
from my origination? No, not from my origination.
Hmm.
Can you hear us? Any delay?
Sorry, I think we have a bit of lag again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
some severe lag there, unfortunately.
Let's try again next week because I really want to have this conversation with you.
Why don't you send me a DM and I'll let you know where we're at next week, and we'll try to continue this conversation. All right, we are pretty much out of time here then, so I think we'll call it a wrap for the most part. David, you got any last words?
A fun one tonight. I like this show because it's like it's not for me to try to argue something, but I learned so much trying to figure out how to understand people's beliefs in these ways. And I did see we had a hand up that was coming here at the end with racism. It's Randabit, the user, and we'll try to get you up next week. We'll try to get an announcement of where we're going to be. But I'm real grateful for everybody who came out, and Snow for helping run the room, and everything you did, Pierce, production wise.
Yep.
Actually, is there something I could say real quick?
Sure. Absolutely.
So, sitting up here and listening to you guys, it was super, super fascinating. I've actually never experienced any kind of street epistemology before. And this was like wonderful. I really enjoyed it and your guys' tactics. And we really, really appreciated having you here in PNR. So, anytime you guys want to come back and do a show, just let us know.
Oh, we'll be back. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
All right. Love
This was
that.
a blast. And
fantastic.
I'll just give my thoughts real quick. When I first started doing street epistemology, I really wanted to dig at people's beliefs, and I really wanted to have them come to really use reliable methods and come to a solid conclusion. And part of me still does want that. I absolutely want to have people use reliable methods and come to conclusions that are as good as accurate as we can possibly be as human beings, right? I still have that desire, but I think there's something else that's really important, at least for me personally, when doing street epistemology. And it's this human connection, speaking with someone and really connecting with them, hearing them out, and building a little bond, even if it's just over the internet, like talking with Nick, for example. We're homies now, right? And it's just something that's really special, and I don't think that should be overlooked as a part of a benefit of doing street epistemology.
Yeah.
All right. With that being said, I'm gonna try out my new catchphrase. Pierce out. All right, roll that outro.